Alright guys, so this is the part 2 video of deploying the EC2 instances in AWS. In the part first, we deployed this overall flow, the green box. We created the VPC, Amazon VPC. We also created public subnet in it. We also configured the route table, and we also created an internet gateway, and we also configured the security group to allow SSH access from outside world to Amazon EC2. And also in the route table, we configured the route, so how the internet traffic from outside world needs to flow to internet gateway, and from internet gateway within your Amazon EC2. Now in this, as part of this video, we will be doing an exercise where we will create a private subnet. Although we have already created a private subnet. If you go to my VPC, go to subnets, I already have my private subnet, right? This private subnet has 16 IPs allowed. Now what I'll do, I'll create an EC2 instance within my private subnet, and I'll have different security group. I will have a different route table for it. All right, and then you will see how to enable internet traffic in the from incoming from outside to inside, not inside to outside. All right, and that's how we will use the NAT gateway here. So all those exercises we will be doing as part of this video. So let's move on. So I'll go back, and then I'll go back to my EC2, and then I'll launch an instance. I'll say learning lecture private instance. Okay. And then I'll use all these things. I'll use the same key pair. I already have K1. If you are aware, that's how I was able to get connect to my public EC2 instance, which is this, right? So I'll close this. Yeah, you see I already have this k1.pem file. What I'll do is I'll select the VPC, my learning lecture VPC. This is the VPC I have created, and then I will select the private subnet. Okay. Now, so this is the security group for my private subnet. So I'll say private security group private subnet. Alright, so now I'll copy the update description as well. Okay, so I'll allow SSH access. Interesting point is I will not allow SSH access from anywhere. That's the concept of private subnet. If I allow the access, the traffic from anywhere in the world, there is no point of call it private, right? That's the point of calling it as private subnet, making it as private subnet, because we are restricting the flow of traffic from outside. We are only telling this guy to accept traffic from trusted source. Now what those trusted source will be? So if you go back and see our diagram, so this private subnet will only and only accept traffic if that traffic comes from this green box. So this green box is my trusted source, because this green box, when I say this Amazon EC2 instance, right? Because this Amazon EC2 instance is within my public subnet. So I'm asking for private subnet to only access internet traffic or traffic only if that comes from the public subnet. All right, so how can I access this Amazon EC2 instance? Only if I log into this EC2 instance, which is deployed inside public subnet. If I want to SSH do for my local computer, I can't do that because my local computer is not deployed on this Amazon VPC. All right, this Amazon EC2 instance is deployed on my Amazon VPC within the public subnet. That's the whole concept of private subnet. I'm sure you guys must be able to understand. Now I'll go back. I will say not anywhere, I'll say custom. From where I'll say if that comes from launch wizard 9, right? You see this, I'll Now you must be wondering what is this launch phase. So this is the application security group of your public subnet, right? If I copy this and if you go here, VPC, and then if you go to my VPC, so if you guys are not able to catch up whatever few things that I'm introducing in this video, I would suggest you to go back and have a look at my previous video that I have made in order to create the public subnet and Ec2 instances, etc., etc. You will get that idea, and then we will be in good situation to relate this video with that other video. All right, so I'll select this VPC, my VPC, and then I will go to my subnet. I have public subnet and I have private subnet, and then I'll go to security groups. So I have these two security groups, right? If you search that thing, right, this is 9170 launch wizard 9. So this security group has been assigned to my public subnet. All right, guys. So what I'm doing here is I'm asking to only allow access from SSH, and this SSH access should only be allowed using this security group, and this security group has been assigned to my EC2 instance to in the public subnet. All right, so now I'll move on, and then I think I added everything, right? Private subnet and all those things I've added, and then I'll say and launch instance. Alright guys, so this instance is ready. Let's wait for some time to get it in the running state. Alright guys, so this is in the running state, right? So we have now this here. So now we created this private subnet. We already had the private subnet. We created this Amazon EC2 instance, and also we created this security group, which is for this Amazon EC2 instance, and which is filtering all the traffic, what is allowed, what is not allowed. So what we have configured here in this security group is that you only accept the traffic of SSH that comes from this Amazon EC2 instance, right? Because we have used, if you remember, we have used security group of this Amazon EC2. So this is basically here, or you can maybe you can do something like this. All right, so now let's move on, and then draw this. Then let's now look through the NAT gateway. Let's see if we can access the Amazon EC2 instance from this Amazon EC2. All right, so I'll go to this new instance. This is okay. So if I go to connect, so this is learning lecture private instance. So if I go to connect, and if I copy this, if I do this, you won't be able to connect from outside world, because that's the rule that we have. That's how we are restricting the traffic from outside world. So it will get timeout. There is no point of doing this. But how can you log in? So that's what I was trying to make you understand. You can only log into this EC2 instance only if you log into this EC2 instance via this EC2 instance. So this is what acting as a jump server for us, right? Because this EC2 instance is deployed on VPC, and then you only allow here the traffic that comes from your VPC. And since this Amazon EC2 instance, which is public in public subnet, is inside your VPC, that's the reason you can access this EC2 instance, the private instance. All right, so what I'll do now, I'll go back and log into this EC2, the old instance. So this is the IP, right? This is the IP for this guy. So if you want to see, you can go to EC2 instances, and then you can go to learning lecture, this instance. If you select, so you will get this command, right? That's the command I'm using to get connect with my EC2 instance. If you go back, then you see this is the public IP address. In my last video, I explained you the difference between public IP and the elastic IP, right? So public IP will change once you shut down and restart it, and elastic it won't change. It's a static IP address. So I'll go and connect to my this instance. Okay, so I'm logged in to my this instance. All right, which instance? This instance. Okay, now I want to access this instance from my this instance. So the public instance. I want to access my private instance to my public from my public instance, because I have allowed SSH traffic only from there, right? So I'll go back, and this is my. I go back. Okay, this is my private instance. I'll go. Now you see, I need to have, in order to connect, this is your private IP of private instance, right? Private EC2 instance. Because this is within your VPC, my public instance within VPC, so I will be able to use it. But I will need a k1.pem file. So what I'll do, I'll have to create one file, and then I already have this in my local. So I'll open K1. Okay. I'll open this file. 1 second. I'll go here. And then I will say K1.pem. Okay. I'll copy this. Go back here and you paste everything right here. Alright, so I've copied my key, K1 key, to my public EC2 instance. I'll save it. If you see, I have this file here. So now I'll go and copy this command, which I'll be using to connect with the private EC2 instance. I'll click. You see, now I'm able to, okay, it says too bad permission. So I'll say chmod 400. Okay. Then I'll use this. Now, you see, now I'm able to get connect to my private EC2 instance. See, this is the IP address, right? 10.0.7.6. Correct? I don't know what is the command to get this. If config. Yeah. Okay, so you see, this is the IP address. Okay, so that's how I'm connecting to my private EC2 instance using my public EC2 instance, which is acting as a jump server for me, and people also call it best in box. Okay, but if you do www.google.com, you see, I don't have internet access inside this box now. Right now I have to enable the internet access. All right, so now in the second part, this session, we will be enabling access to my private EC2 instance. How can I do that? If you go back, you will have to use NAT Gateway. All right, so now I will move on and create a NAT instance. You will have to go to VPC. And then you go to NAT Gateway. And then you create a NAT Gateway. You call it Learning Lecture NAT Gateway. Which subnet? Now you see, you cannot have the NAT gateway into private subnet. There is no point of having your NAT gateway into private subnet. Otherwise, and again, you don't have the connectivity. You will have to keep your NAT gateway into the public subnet. All right. So I'll go and then select my public subnet, this one. All right, and I will have to allocate elastic IP. I already told you, right, in the beginning of video, what is elastic IP. So I'll create this NAT gateway. Alright, so my NAT gateway is ready, or not ready, it's in pending state. Again pending, let's wait for some time to get this ready. Alright, meanwhile this gets ready, it's taking time. So what I'll do, I'll create a route table and assign it to my, it's still ready, okay. Anyways, I'll go to route table. So currently if you see, I'll go back to my VPC and we will visualize this VPC, okay. You see this, the connection, the way this VPC has been organized is it has two subnets. These two subnet has this single route table which is public route table. Alright, now what I'll do, but this route table has the incoming traffic from internet to internet gateway and to your public subnet, within public subnet your EC2. I don't want this. What I want is I want to have another route table where I will say for private subnet you use the private route table where internet traffic should go to NAT gateway and from NAT gateway to private subnet and from private subnet to EC2 instance. Alright, so what I'll do, I'll go back and then I'll create a route table. I'll say private route table and then let me move it here. I'll select the VPC. So this is my learning lecture VPC. Okay, and now I will create this route table. Alright, so now my route has been created. I'll have to associate a subnet. So what I'll do, I'll edit and dissociate this. I will only associate this subnet, my private, right? So I'll click a save association. So this route table, if you go here and then you see this private route table is only connected to, if I go back to my public route table and I'll go to, it only has my private public subnet. You see this public route table only has association with the public subnet. Alright, so these two guys has their different route tables. I'll go back. If you go back to route tables again, and if you click here you will see, okay, explicit subnet association. Okay, I'll have to remove this. Okay, anyways, okay, we will move on and then if there is an issue then we'll try to fix it. Okay, subnet association, I have this. Now what I'll do, I will go route propagation. I'll say I'll edit a route and I'll say from internet you move that to your NAT gateway. Which NAT gateway? This learning lecture NAT gateway, right? This learning lecture NAT gateway. I'll say changes. Alright, so my route table has been updated. So all the traffic which is coming to this route table, this particular route table has been assigned to my private subnet. All traffic from here will be moving to this NAT gateway, from NAT gateway to my private subnet and within private subnet to my EC2 instance. Alright, so I'll go back here and then I'll go back to VPC and then from VPC I'll click this. Okay, so you see my public route table is now following this public route table and private is following this private route table. Now this private route table is the traffic from this route table is being moved to my NAT gateway and this traffic from my public segment moving to my internet gateway. Alright, so now what I'll do, I'll go back here, right? So this 76 is I'll go back to my EC2 instance. Yeah. Okay. sorry, not launch instance. I'll go back. Yeah, I'll say connect. Okay, so I'll say 7.6.6. Now I think we are already inside, right? Now earlier your ping was not working, right? So if I do ping now to google.com, you see now your internet is flowing, right? All the network traffic from internet to your the incoming manner is flowing towards your EC2 instance inside your private subnet. So how we made it possible? We made it possible using your NAT gateway. All right, so if you go back to your VPC here, and then your VPC, learning lecture VPC, you see that's how we made it possible, right? Your whatever coming in your VPC for your public subnet is the route table is going toward your internet gateway, and then private subnet is going toward your NAT gateway, right? So you see we just set up the security group, the Amazon EC2 instance in the private subnet, and then we created a route table specifically for this private subnet. If you go here, I just explain you, yeah, you see this route table, right? If you click on this route table, you will see we have defined a path where it explains whatever traffic from outside, you move it to your NAT gateway. But understand that traffic is coming from your internet gateway, right? Eventually, this to your NAT gateway. All right, and then we assigned it to our private subnet. That's how we enable the traffic from internet to our private instance. But remember, the way we made it private is only allowing access from within my VPC. That's the reason we are able to get connect to my private EC2 instance using my public EC2 instance, because of the fact my public EC2 instance is deployed on my VPC. But from outside world, I cannot access this private subnet. That is the reason this public EC2 instance can also be called as jump server. So that's the overall exercise we have done as part of these two videos, part 1 and part 2. You can check out, I would recommend you to go through the part 1 video, then to part 2 video, and then in case you have any question, you can comment it down. You have any feedback, you can comment it down. If there is any topic that you want me to create a video, you can just comment it down. I'm available on LinkedIn. You can get me connect on the LinkedIn. You can post your queries, questions, message me. I'll be able to answer those. All right guys, so thank you so much.